Let them start. Let them come in. But in the meantime, let Hassan pray for us.
No, we can pray when they are seated.
Oh, we pray when they are seated.
Okay,
Let's pray as they come in.
Okay, Chair.
Asante. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Thank you very much. We know you have a very packed day. Yeah, we want to be judicious with the way we manage our time. The royal, yes.
Eugene, I'm looking forward to the Royal Luo Republic. 4 p.m. today. Yeah, they have come with their own border. Demarcation. Yes.
You
may. Shall.
Ukose, hey, your members. Wakuje. We are losing time.
Who is presenting? So we can start. The others can they've signed to it. They can follow. They can join you. Okay.
Iko shida gani? With you? What happened? Let's have all the members of parliament given seats. Let's have all the MPs taking their seats. Okay, I think we are set now. We are set. There is really no need for any introductions, at least on our end, because I'm sure you know us. In the interest of time, I will be allowing the delegation leader to take the floor. We have 20 minutes. If you can play around within that time frame, it will be very good for all of us here. We have a very packed day. This being the last day of oral presentations, it's a really packed day. And mjaribu mtulize wale ambao wako nyuma wakimye. Tunaomba mwe watulivu. Asanteni sana. Karibu mheshimiwa. Yes. Tuanze tu. Tutaona.
Asante sana wadau wote ambao tumefika hapa. Nitachukua muda mfupi sana kusoma memoranda kwa namna ya introduction, alafu baada ya hapo kutakuwa na wawakilishaji wengine kama wawili watatu. Baada ya hapo tutaona jinsi ambavyo chair utaongoza. The Joint Chairpersons of the National Dialogue Committee, Your Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, the one that is now standing in, and my majority leader, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, the leader of majority of the National Assembly, senators present, members of parliament. We, the caucus of additional counties, appreciate and celebrate the Constitution 2010. We take pride in and solace in the spirit and letter of...
Can I guide also? I'm sorry, Mr. Honorable, for interrupting you. I hope you understand that you don't need to read the whole thing.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Just
highlights. I will go into it.
Yes, highlights.
I hope my time has not been...
No.
You understand the principle, eh?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. The Constitution aims for fairness, equity, and shared prosperity for all Kenyans, and without discrimination, marginalization, of any other communities and religion and race. The reason for my reading this, especially this part, is so that the committee, the Joint Committee, can appreciate that what we are here before you for is to pursue further devolution. We appreciate that devolution has worked. We appreciate and we see the fruits of devolution of our chairs. But at the same time, we also appreciate that it is our responsibility to make sure that devolution even works much better as envisaged in the 2010 Constitution. Chair, before you, this caucus will demonstrate, and that is where now I'm going to leave it to the next person to speak. We will demonstrate that the number 47 is not a magical number. The Constitution envisaged creation of additional counties and has provided a route for it in Articles 95, 174, 188, among others. Secondly, this caucus will also demonstrate that creation of additional counties does not require a referendum. In accordance with the Articles 156 of the Constitution, there is a route that has been presented and prescribed on how additional counties can be created alongside boundaries. Number 3, this caucus will also demonstrate that creation of additional counties does not require additional resources. The exchequer, the public will not need to spend any additional amount, as is commonly said out there. There'll be no additional resources. The resources that are currently going to the counties, those counties that are born out of the new counties, the original counties, pro rata, according to their population and size, there will be a formula. I know that Kenyans are not without enough scientists. There will be a scientific formula of establishing pro rata, how the monies that are going into those counties can be shared equitably. In conclusion, this caucus appreciates and respects the concerns of big communities. We, majority of us here, are minority communities within the counties that we are seeking to get additional further devolution. We urge that this committee and country to appreciate the inbuilt systemic exclusion and suffering of minority communities, constitutionalized marginalization, and try to resolve conclusively and end this said marginalization for the betterment of Kenyans at large. We believe that this country can find a win-win-win formula that makes Kenya even better. The principle of 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling, 1 kilometer, additional 11 counties. We know that this country can always coexist with each other as we find a win-win solution. And therefore, we urge this committee to consider creation of 11 additional counties of Kuria, Teso, Mount Elgon, East Pokot, Mwingi, Gucha, Suba, Ijara, Nakuru West, Wajir South, and Nyambene. And you will note, my chairs, that we cut across the entire country. And this has nothing to do with parties. This is a cry for people out in the country who want to belong like anybody else. I want to give this opportunity now to Carol Omondi to present the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kitayama. Ladies and gentlemen, my task this morning is very simple. I would like to, on behalf of the honorable members present and the various representatives like the Suba elders who are behind us, the elders from Pokot and other communities, and Teso, we also have elders from Teso.
Would we know those elders?
Please.
By way of showing hands.
Suba elders.
Let's go step by step.
Step by step. Suba elders.
Okay.
Kuria elders. Teso elders. Pokot elders. And there are others who have appeared here before you. Yeah, from Mount Elgon and the rest. My task is to demystify 6 myths that have been associated with the national discourse on the creation of new counties. So I want to debunk them. I want to put them to rest permanently so that people can have an honest and sincere debate on this quest for new counties. Ladies and gentlemen, the first myth is that to create a new county in Kenya, you need a referendum. That is a myth. That is not the law. The law is very clear in Article 188 of the Constitution.
Sorry, Mheshimiwa. Could we please have another copy from the Secretariat for what is being presented? Kindly.
Please, here.
Let's have another copy.
Yes. There are
Chair.
2 copies for the co-chairs.
Yeah.
And so these other ones. Yes. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Karoli. Just proceed.
Yes. Let them get to you so that you can follow my argument. Yeah. The first point is to demystify or to debunk the myth that you need a referendum to establish a new county. Our constitution is very clear. Article 188, 1 and 2 provide as follows. If you want to create a new county, then Parliament shall establish an independent commission to review the boundaries of existing counties. Once that process is over, the next step is that review is then presented as a parliamentary initiative under Article 256(1), 2, 3, 4 of the Constitution by way of a bill amending the first schedule by introducing a new county. So the boundaries, what you need to know is that the boundaries of an existing county can be reviewed for several reasons, and there are 7 parameters set out in the Constitution.
You say 188?
188, 1
allows for
and 2.
Okay.
Article 188, sub-article 1 and 2 of the Constitution, as read together with Article 256, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the operative articles of the Constitution of Kenya on the creation of new counties. Now, once the Parliament has established an independent commission, the next step is that review. Under Constitution. Yes, we have additional.
Please allow them to come in.
They must come in, otherwise there was no point of us being here.
There are additional elders from TESO. Let them be allowed in.
Just allow them a few minutes, then we proceed.
The review will take into account 7 parameters. These 7, not all must be fulfilled. A review can be conducted on the basis of only one of the 7 parameters. And these 7 parameters are population, the need for infrastructure, both human and physical, historical and cultural ties of communities, the issue of cost, views of the communities affected, and the fulfillment of objects of devolution as outlined in Article 174, and also geographical features. Any one of those 7 parameters can inform a review. You don't need to fulfill all of them. And then the bill proposing that review and the amendment of first schedule by inciting a new bill is then processed under Article 256, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the Constitution of Kenya.
Just hope that will help us understand how you navigate around 255.
I will come to that.
Yeah, please.
I'll come to that.
Yeah.
By way of parliamentary initiative. I want us to be clear on that. Now let me get to Article 255, 1 and 256, 5. I think that's where you are, correct? Articles 255, 1, I, 255, 1I, and Article 256, 5 of the Constitution of Kenya. These are the 2 articles that set out the amendments that require a national referendum. And our reading and conviction and the knowledge we have is that they do not apply to creation of new counties. Why? Because the review and alteration of boundaries of existing counties do not amount, note the words, do not amount to an amendment of the objects, principles, and structure of devolved government units. The 3 parameters that must be subjected to a referendum are where you are amending the objects of devolution, which are outlined under Article 174, when you are amending the principles of devolution, which are in Article 175, and when you are amending the structure of devolved government, which are outlined in Article 176. Review of boundaries do not fit there. So those articles do not apply. Now, it is our conviction that when you are amending the boundaries under 188, you are actually promoting the objects of devolution. You are promoting giving life to the principles of devolution. And those new counties will embrace the same structure of government as outlined in Article 176. So there is completely no space for a referendum to create a new county. I hope we have debunked it. I hope you understand it. I hope the rest of the Kenyans are on the same page with us on that issue. We do not need a referendum to create new counties in Kenya. The second one, in no particular order, is the myth that new counties...
We can only proceed. It's a contention that the structure of the devolved government is provided for only in 176.
Yes, and the structure is that there must be a National Assembly and an Executive Committee. So the new counties will have a National Assembly and Executive Committee.
And that varying the numbers of counties doesn't in any way...
does not vary the objects, does not vary the principles, does not vary the structure.
Okay.
It gives life to those articles.
Okay,
by
proceed.
Creating new counties.
Proceed.
And let me bring, I think I'll jump my presentation and go to the third myth so that you understand it further. Let me go to the third myth. There's a myth in this country that 47 counties are the optimal number of counties that Kenya needs. It is a myth. It is a myth. And why is it a myth? The 47 counties as presently exist were not created on the basis of any scientific research. There was nothing. There was nothing to form their basis. As a matter of fact, there was not even a single occasion of public participation in the selection of the 47 counties. And they were provisional, and the committee of experts were very clear that we are starting with 47 as provisional. And their creation was arbitrary. Why was it arbitrary? Because people became lazy in Naivasha. People did not want to work and have a basis. The original provisions or proposals were at 8 regional governments and 74 counties. Those 74 counties were based on scientific analysis by the late Odhiambo and his team. The 47 are created on the basis of existing administrative units created for a centralized government, not for a devolved system of government. They are the old districts that were gazetted as at 1992 by previous administrations. Now, that process was very unfair and skewed. There are areas that traditionally were excluded from being given district. But even then, the ones that were existing and gazetted by 1992, not all of them were made counties. And there are others that existed but had not been gazetted but were made counties. So basically, what we are trying to say is that the current 47 counties have not been premised on the objects, on the principles of devolution as recognized in our constitution. Yes. There are administrative units for a centralized system of government. They are not units for a devolved system of government. And then there must be a review on that basis. I hope we have demystified that myth. In other words, Kenya can have less counties or it can have more counties. But for purposes of equity, because the parameters that have been used to create the 47 have been used to deny other people who are deserving, it is only in the interest of equity, fair and justice that the counties that share the same parameters as the ones that currently exist be given the same opportunity. And I can give you examples.
Through the chair?
Yes.
What about Article 6.1 of the Constitution, which says that the territory of Kenya is divided into counties specified in the first schedule?
That is why I'm saying it can be amended.
So boundaries vis-a-vis, readjusting the boundaries vis-a-vis creating more counties could be two distinct things.
Creating new counties has nothing to do with boundary of Kenya, because they are within the boundaries of Kenya. In fact, there's a Latin principle, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. So there's nothing, absolutely, that Article 6, actually we should look at Article 6 in terms of providing proximate services to the people. We should look at the principles of devolution, of giving communities a chance to govern themselves. Yes. of giving communities a chance to make their own decisions. Those are the principles that we should look at. All the counties will be within the territory of Kenya. We will not create a county in the territory of Uganda. Yes. So,
Mheshimiwa, may
yes.
I ask something?
Yes, please.
You have a very strong point. And if you look at Article 6.1 against the Article 255, you realize already Article 6.1 says that the territory of Kenya is divided into counties specified in the first schedule. Now, the first schedule lists down 47 counties.
Yes.
That in itself is the structure of Kenya, of devolved government. One national government, 47 counties. So what that means, therefore, is if you want to bring in new counties, my thinking, I could be wrong. And for your information, I'm extremely sympathetic to what you're doing because it affects my people, the Tesos. Okay? So I feel them, and I know what it is they go through, and how much they want to have their independence. Now, but is that to mean, therefore, since you're literally working, touching on the structure from 47 counties to the new number that you want us to have, isn't that aren't you affecting the structure of government? Because the structure as stipulated in the Constitution is one national government and 47 counties. So which would mean maybe there may be a referendum aspect in it. Maybe that's something you people need to think about from where I sit and looking at the provision of the Constitution.
Through the chair.
Thank you very
Just
much.
before you respond, yes. Honorable Kalori, through the chair, I think Honorable Kalori is actually trying to explain to us on how it can happen, and let us give him time. I think I'm getting to understand those concepts, kidogo. Let's give him time.
Oh, let's proceed.
Thank you. Let us understand, international boundaries are defined under international law, not under municipal law. So the boundaries of Kenya are a matter of public international law. So we cannot define them, and we cannot use administrative units of governance, be they for devolved countries or central government, to define our boundaries. That is another matter altogether under municipal law. What Article 6 is telling you is that there is a republic called Kenya. This republic has a national government, and it has, for the time being, the 47 counties listed in the first schedule. It is not telling you they are permanent. It is not telling you they are unamendable. It is not telling you new counties cannot be created. Otherwise, there would be no reason to have Article 188. The reason why there is Article 188 is that the first schedule to the Constitution of Kenya can be amended at any time the people of Kenya wish to do so. I hope that matter is also debunked. Okay. So, let's again demystify another myth. There's this myth that new counties will be costly, that new counties will be expensive to run. What people don't realize is that new counties will have their national subvention prorated from the existing 15% subvention to the counties where they currently are. So what you have is the limited additional expense of having a county women rep, a governor, and a senator. The rest of them, the MCAs will be the same, the members of parliament will be the same. And here the examples begin. How many constituencies do we have in Taita Taveta? How many, and it is a county, how many do we have in Elgeyo Marakwet? How many constituencies do we have in Isiolo? How many constituencies do we have in Lamu? How many constituencies do we have here in Tharaka Nithi? If you compare that, the population, the constituencies, the MCS, and the people behind us here, most of them are the same, 2 constituencies, 3 constituencies, or 4. And then data current data indicates for Homa Bay County, much of the revenue is from Suba, the two Suba constituencies. If you go to Mount Elgon, Trans Nzoia and Bungoma, much of the revenue is from Mount Elgon. If you go to Migori, much of the revenue is from Kuria. And then, and Baringo is the same. Yeah, from Tiat, we cannot justify. Yeah?
Karoli,
Yes.
Karoli.
And we need to understand this. The simple additional expense of a few senators, one governor or a few people, is not justification to permanently commit injustice to these members of Kenya. Yes. You cannot justify it that way. Because there are already counties that on their own source of revenue are not sustained. Actually, 85% of the current counties in Kenya on their own source revenue cannot sustain themselves. So if we are already supporting the others, we cannot deny these other guys. Yes, either we apply the same rules to everybody or we don't. So the issue of cost does not arise. It will be the same 15% being prorated between the old and the new counties. I hope that is debunked. There is another myth that when we create new counties, we will promote ethnic balkanization. And as I said, there is a Latin maxim, e pluribus unum. Out of many, one. Our constitution recognizes our diversity. It pronounces itself very elaborately. It encourages communities to manage their own affairs, require provisions of proximate and easily accessible public services, and promote decentralization. There is no ethnic angle to this quest. We just want fairness, justice, and an end to discrimination. Yes, that is all we want.
Karoli, sorry.
There are two other additional minor myths. One, that we are promoting this so that each one of us here could go back and become governors. I just throw it back to you. This process you are stewarding here is creating certain public offices. I do not want to accuse any of you for being here to create a position that you will occupy later. I don't think that is the case. If it doesn't apply to you, it should not apply to us. Yes? Are we together? And then there's the other one, that the new countries will promote corruption. You hear that myth. Yeah? If that is the case, then we should do away with all the counties. We should even do away with the national government. We should even do away with the police service because they are ranked as the most corrupt. But we've never said we are going to stop having the country Kenya or a national government because of corruption. The challenge there is how to address cases of corruption. It is not how to commit injustice on people because others have been committing corruption. No, that does not apply. So finally, honorable members, we therefore wish to request this committee to include in its report to the National Assembly a recommendation for the establishment of an independent commission by Parliament under Article 188 of the Constitution of Kenya to review and alter the boundaries of the affected counties by creating the new counties of Kuria, Suba, Teso, Mount Elgon, Ijara, Mwingi, Nakuru West, East Pokot, Wajir South, and Bucha. Thank you very much.
Before you conclude, Honorable Karoli,
yes.
Before you conclude,
yes,
and you can see our sympathies for your test,
yes.
But then, could you simply just comment on the matter of jurisdiction, as far as this committee is concerned, vis-a-vis the issue you are canvassing? And
could I also request, I see on page 15, you've mentioned 10 counties, page 15 of your document. You've mentioned 10 counties, yet you're talking about 11.
Yes.
But you've named 10. Which is the 11th?
Nyambene.
Oh, Nyambene in Meru.
Yes. And let me just clarify that point, Honorable Chair. The first 10, the process of initiating this review is by way of collecting a minimum of 60 signatures. 50 signatures. Now, all the 10 except Nyambene, we have already collected those signatures. We have already initiated that process in Parliament. Yes, and we have a proposed bill to that effect. So each of the counties already has the support of not less than 50 members.
Okay.
Now, for Nyambene, they are still in that process. Yeah.
Honorable Chariot is coming in with a question, Honorable Karoli.
But let me answer you first, Chair.
No, just note down. Just note down, please.
Okay.
As Honorable Chariot comes in, please also comment on the county boundaries bill, which is currently pending before the Senate. It might address the issue of the independent commission you are alluding to. Just note down.
Okay. County boundaries bill.
Senator Chariot.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the members that have found time to come and present before us. I am sympathetic to your cause as well, and I appreciate what you're speaking to. But I am cautiously optimistic about your request to us because of something that I wish you to address us, and maybe you help us appreciate and see how we can navigate it. The crux of the matter is that the people that you represent feel marginalized in the counties where they presently exist, and that the objects of devolution haven't been achieved to them. In fact, to use the words of one of the presenters who came here yesterday, making a case for Mwingi County, he said devolution has been taken captive at county headquarters and it doesn't reach the people. Yet, that is what you are advocating for. However, and this is something I want either you, Karoli, or the members that you're with to address us. You have given us one way that this can be solved. Create for us additional counties where we can self-govern and our people can enjoy devolution like the rest of the country. I just want to ask, is there the slightest of chance that there is another way we can achieve your objectives without necessarily creating additional counties? Why do I ask so? I ask so because seated where you are, yesterday was Council of Governors. And we took them to task because as it is today, 47 out of 47, 100% of our counties are spending in excess of 80% of the devolved funds on recurrent. Only 20% is going to development. Therefore, there is a risk that even as you create further counties, you may not necessarily achieve the purpose of your intention, because basically what you're doing, you are creating another line of 80% recurrent expenditure. So is there a way, Mheshimiwa Karoli and your team, that what you're pleading can be achieved without necessarily having to create extra counties? Just a question that I wish you to address. And why do I say so? My last point is because, and I want to use Trans Nzoia as an example. Last week, we listened to elders from Mount Elgon and Sabaot. They came to us, presented just the way you're presented. Yesterday in the afternoon, we listened to another team that called themselves Trans Nzoia stakeholders. And they said, these people haven't come to us for us to resolve our issues internally before coming to you. Why do they want a share of our county to be given away? And actually you've mentioned it, because you've said, don't think about it in terms of cost, because the cost of running these counties will be gotten from already the share that is allocated to these specific counties. Therefore, people feel the majoritarian thinking in the counties where you're coming from can easily gang up and come before us tomorrow and say, why do you want to take away a portion of what has been given to us on account of certain people being dissatisfied? So I'm just using the case of Trans Nzoia that played out before us, and probably if people watch you today, then tomorrow we can have the other side of Homa Bay, the other side of Migori, Kisii, coming to us and saying, why do you want to take away other resources? Hence my question that while what you're proposing to us makes sense to me, that we can create additional counties, is This is the only way through which we can entrench this concept of what you're calling further devolution, or there is another way, and wish to be assisted. I thank you, Chair.
Obilianga.
Thank you, Chair. I have a different idea, but I'm totally in agreement with the creation of new counties as a person. Because actually, I'm one of those who is affected, and the panel here can attest to that. My mother comes from Mount Elgon, and that is a team that has really been affected. But the idea of creation of new counties without a referendum, I really want to understand that clearly. Because you've tried to give us structures, and you've also tried to give us sub-articles, but still, the structure of devolution is one national government, and it has 47 governments, county governments. Creating additional counties would change the structure and thus require a referendum. I want you to look at that. And maybe as I'll be finishing, I would also propose that we will allow our technical teams to look at that, what Karoli has given us in those sub-articles 255 and 188. Because given the text of that, or the narrative of 255, it's actually not possible to create counties without a referendum. I want you to make me understand that a little bit better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Senator Omar.
Okay, asante.
The very last, I suppose.
Mheshimiwa Karoli and team, I always identify quite enormously with minorities and minority rights. After all, in Kenya, I am also a minority. But I want to be persuaded that to redress a minority systemic or endemic marginalization is a function of only appointing one or two members from that community or allocating an administrative advantage where one or two people are better placed competitively to raise to the echelons of those leaderships. I will not mention names, but if you look at communities hitherto, which have said they have been marginalized, you can count one or two people who have, in successive administrations, served in very high leadership positions, and some of them are actually now bequeathing that leadership to their own sons and daughters or to their family members. So you have this marginalization you have talked about has never been cured. What happens is you just actually empower one or two people to further become lords over their own territory or their people under the guise of fighting marginalization. So that's why you can see repeatedly, Chairman, I've asked this question: how does giving Hassan Omar or Amina Mnyazi a membership in a commission as a standalone without a program of inclusivity cure marginalization? We have been marginalized for 60 years, where once in a while you get a CS Hapa, you get a PS pale, you get a CDF pale, munapata sijui commissioner pale, munapata. It has not cured marginalization. So we need to, as a country, to have a conversation, rather than having these very ruthless competition of power based on ethnic engineering, to look for a programmatic way that the Endorois, the Suba, the new tribe in Kenya, what is it called? The Pemba, the Chamus, Canadians in Homa Bay, can be integrated in all spheres of national life. So what we need to do as we even talk about our counties and the creation of new administrative boundaries, because if you create a county for me right now, there's very few people who can beat me where I come from. You know what I mean? Some like you, some of you have comparative advantage. That's the truth of the matter. When you get into a political seat, acquire a bit of facilities and capacity and resources, you become more competitive politically. Today, if you told me at the advent of devolution, 2013, to have those 14 regions, I'll be thinking, 14 regions. If you told me today to merge 3-4 counties, I'm a little more confident that you merge them and I'll still be in that race and probably afford it. So these kind of things, this gives you, so what you then do, you're enhancing a set of individuals, a handful. I can talk from Independence Kenya, in the minority communities or marginalized, it's been the same people. So what I'm asking, is there a way programmatically beyond administrative boundaries that we can be able to enhance our participation in national life and politics?
Thank you.
We can go on now? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. In no particular order in answering the 5 questions, I absolutely agree with Senator Omar. Tokenism does not cure marginalization or discrimination. It does not, by putting somebody here or there. Actually, the way marginalization is normally about political representation and equitable share of resources. And these are issues that are addressed, if you look at the history of mankind, by organizing the distribution of those resources closer to the people. Whether you go to Switzerland, you go to America, wherever you go, they create these other units instead of having a centralized system of government. So the cure to this marginalization, I absolutely agree with you, is to create new counties or to create new other administrative units for central government to deal with that systemic issue. You will not solve it by appointing somebody to a position in central government. I absolutely agree with you. And that is what we are trying to address here.
Well said.
Yes. And then you see, Senator Cheriot has asked whether there are alternatives to creating new counties. The point is, this discrimination is both is historical, but also post-2010 constitution. There are 2 regions that I would like to flag out, Nyanza and Western Kenya. If you look at the way Nyanza and Western Kenya have been treated over the years, even before 2010 constitution, in terms of distribution of administrative units, what we used to call districts, and creation of constituencies, they've been shortchanged to a very large extent. To a very large extent. You can see Western Kenya is actually asking for 2 new counties. Yes? And Nyanza is also asking for 2 new counties. That were actually in the original 74. 3. That were 3. That were in the original 74. Yeah. And there's been a lot of historical injustice to those 2 regions, whether it's constituencies, or it is admin units, or it is counties. It is all about representation, which goes down with sharing of resources. Actually, the quest that you see the Kuria people ask, the Suba people and the Gucha people, is to address the systemic discrimination against Nyanza in terms of those units, which has been historical for a very long time, over 50 years. It is not about those 2. It's only that those are the 3 areas that can clearly fit in the description. So I think the alternative would not be new constituencies, if that was the idea. New constituencies would just be maybe to again address certain issues where geography or other difficulties, like the constituencies like Wajir, where you and Marsabit, where you can go for hundreds of kilometers before you see any government service. Those are the kind of issues. But we would not think of another alternative other than creating the counties. That is what we are seeing. Now, on the county boundaries bill, I will leave that to my colleague, Honorable Pukose. But before then, we have 2 other issues. Referendum, I want to deal with it last, because, Chair, you may allow me now to read the Constitution so we all understand it.
Well, less than 5 minutes.
Yes. Jurisdiction of NADOC. Jurisdiction of NADOC, NADCO, you have something called governance issues, including promotion of national unity and inclusivity. That is your mandate. And as a good lawyer will tell you, any instrument appointing anybody, there's always the omnibus clause. Anything that appertains or is closely affiliated or connected.
Well addressed.
You have jurisdiction.
Yes.
Yes. The final one, so that there's clarity, I want us to start with Article 188, please, if we have our constitutions. If you just look at Article 188, that is page 120, page 120 of the Constitution. I don't know which version you have. 188, alteration, boundaries of counties. 188.1, boundaries of counties may be altered only by a resolution recommended by an independent commission set up for that purpose by Parliament. Are we together? And it is passed by 2/3 in both National Assembly and in the Senate. Then the boundaries of a county may be altered to take into account, these are the parameters you use, the 7 parameters: population density and demographic trends. Yes? Physical and human infrastructure. Historical and cultural ties. The cost of administration. The views of the communities affected. The objects of devolution of government and geographical features. You don't have to satisfy all the 7. 1 is enough. 1 is enough. Under our Constitution. 1 is enough. Now, let us jump to Article 174 of the Constitution. Yeah? Let us start with 174. The objects of devolution. I want us to understand this very well, Honorable Wambilanga. Objects of devolution, we need to understand them. The objects of devolution of government are: 1, promote democratic and accountable exercise of power. To foster national unity by recognizing diversity. Yes? To give powers of self-governance to the people and enhance the participation of the people in the exercise of the powers of the state and in making decisions affecting them. To recognize the right of communities to manage their own affairs and to further their development. Welcome, Your Excellency. To protect and promote the interests and rights of minorities and marginalized communities. To promote social and economic development and the provision of proximate, easily accessible services throughout Kenya. To ensure equitable sharing of national and local resources throughout Kenya. To facilitate the decentralization of state organs, their functions and services from the capital of Kenya. And to enhance checks and balances and the separation of powers. Those are the objects. And if you want to amend that article, you go to a referendum. Principles of devolved government, Article 175. County government shall be based on democratic principles and separation of powers. County government shall have reliable sources of revenue. We have addressed those. And then Article 176, which is the structure now. There shall be a county government for each county consisting of county assembly and county executive. I think we have now understood those ones. Now let's go to 255, which was causing a problem. 255, and there are 2 there. 255, 1I. A proposed amendment to this constitution shall be enacted in accordance with Article 256 or 257 and approved in accordance with Clause 2 by a referendum, if the amendment relates to any of the following matters. And I is the operative one in our case. The objects, principles, and structure of devolved government. That is the only thing that requires referendum. So if you are amending Article 174, which is the objects, 175, which are the principles, structure, which is 176, then you go to a referendum. But by creating new counties, we are not amending those. We are not amending 174. We are not amending 175. We are not amending 176. We are giving them life. We are making them have legs. That is what we are doing. We are not amending the objects principle. Are we together? And then, if you go to 255.5, was it? No, 250, yeah. I think that's the one. Eh? Or, no, 256.5. 256.5. Because there's been confusion.